After taking 10 years off from the game of baseball and using AI to rebuild my swing from scratch, there was still something missing in my game. I had to reteach myself how to pitch. I was sitting at 77 to 80 miles per hour, but it was all empty velocity. My arm hurt every game, I had zero control, and I even gave up double-digit hits to the worst team in the league. And I realized that my 10-year-old mechanics were just breaking down my body. So I decided to take the plunge. I let AI rebuild my mechanics. Hello friends, this is Bryce on Balls, where I talk about my baseball journey in the hopes of helping you on yours. In this video, I want to talk about how I rebuilt my pitching mechanics from scratch using AI tools. I did so with hitting, I've done so to make a baseball offseason training plan, so it only felt natural to do this with pitching as well, and I've had some really great results. I've been working on my mechanics, I want to say, for about 2-3 months now. And in that time, I have managed to reduce soreness in my arm by about 90%. I've increased my sitting velocity at about 4 miles an hour, and I finally feel like I know what I'm doing on the mound. Essentially, I've accomplished a lot in my pitching mechanics in a short amount of time because I really wanted to get the joy of pitching back into me. Because when you're in pain, that's just no fun. One small difference I want to highlight in this video, I've actually been using Google Gemini to rebuild my pitching mechanics rather than ChatGPT like in my previous videos. The only reason being is that Google Gemini, I find, does a better job with being able to upload videos directly from your phone, so that's the reason. This is what my pitching mechanics looked like when I first took a video and uploaded it to Google AI. With this form, I had a ton of trouble controlling where I was throwing the ball. I had a ton of pain on the inside part of my elbow to the point where I could only throw 20 pitches before I was just dead tired. I had to work really hard just to top out at 80 miles an hour. And in doing so, Gemini gave me a few notes about my mechanics. For one, I was leaking a lot of energy by opening my shoulder way too far off on my glove side. My front and back legs were both collapsing into the ground and leaking a ton of energy too. And on top of it, when I was landing with my lead leg, my arm was in an upside down elbow position at about 90 degrees, kind of like this. So as I was trying to turn toward home plate, my arm would have to catch up with my body very quickly, which meant that I could still throw hard, but it came at an insane cost and a lot less control. So obviously I had some work to do. So what I did was I took each of these notes one step at a time over the course of a couple months in order to completely change up my mechanics and get to a better spot. The easiest thing to fix was the glove side opening up. I just practiced having a firm glove side and finishing over it. Once I conquered that, the second thing I wanted to attack was my arm angle and my release point. I used to finish like an upside down L when I was throwing, and instead I wanted to get to a point where I was trying to almost pull back an arrow and make like an acute V shape up above, kind of by my ear. What that did was it helped redirect all the energy to my major muscles like my shoulder, my scap, and it helped me actually throw a little bit harder because I'm using more of my body more efficiently. Now, the hardest habit for me to break was my lead leg block. For those of you who don't know what that is, a lead leg block is essentially kind of like it sounds. Your front leg has to brace as straight as humanly possible when you land so that your body can propel energy forward and straight. I have always had trouble with this. I've always landed with a bend because that's how I thought you're supposed to do it, and all it's done is made it harder for me to reach higher velocity. This by far took me the longest time to correct and really figure out with my body. I think I dedicated a good month to figuring out how to do this. And I'm happy to say it's in a much better place now than when I started, but of course there's always room for improvement. And lastly, as of most recently, the other thing Gemini pointed out to me was the fact that my rear leg was collapsing before I released my energy forward. Some of you may have heard that there's two options with your rear leg. You can tall and fall, or you can drop and drive. The reality is that with tall and fall, you are more efficiently using your energy to go toward home plate. If you drop and drive, you are literally leaking energy into the ground, and then you have to push off very quickly to go forward, and thus you're losing some speed. And on top of that, I found that when I kept my rear leg straighter and more firm whilst going forward that it was actually a lot easier for me to develop that lead leg block. And finally, when all was said and done after a couple months of work had ensued, this was the result. Now when I pitch, my lead leg block is a lot more firm. My rear leg, I'm still working out a little bit, but it collapses a little bit less. My glove side stays firm and I don't leak energy by spinning off of it. And my arm angle and arm action is a little bit shorter, and I make that acute angle with my elbow so that it can properly line up with the kinetic sequence and I can push all my energy toward the catcher rather than leaking any of it. All that was left to do was to see where I was at, and so for that I turned to PitchLab. This is how the bullpen turned out. So guys, in just 2 months' time, I was able to fully rebuild my mechanics, although I'm still working on them pretty heavily. And now, with relative ease, I'm starting to top out at about 82 miles an hour. And the crazy part is that bullpen, I was actually dog tired and fresh off of a full, really intense practice. If I had gone into that bullpen fully relaxed, fully fresh, I might have thrown even harder, probably 2 to 3 miles an hour harder. And that's the most exciting part for me and something that I'm gonna look forward to. I can't wait to do another PitchLab bullpen session when I'm completely fresh so I can reveal to all of you how much better my mechanics have resulted in and how much more velocity I'm getting on my pitches. Now, this is by no means to say that my only goal is to build velocity, right? Because control is everything in this game. You don't want to blindly just try to throw 100 miles an hour. You're going to hurt yourself. You want to be able to control the ball, because if you have control, you can control the game, you can control the batters, and you can win. That's something I always like to keep in mind as I'm training and I'm trying to up my velocity, I'm trying to better my mechanics, so on and so forth. But guys, I'm happy to say that I was able to rebuild my mechanics from scratch using AI very successfully. Now I can throw a lot harder with a lot less effort and a lot less soreness on my arms so I can get back to pitching in the game that I absolutely love. The journey's only beginning. I'm going to keep trying to up my velocity and improve my mechanics by doing plyo balls and have more fun experiments like this. I would be honored if you guys would join me in following along, and I actually want to hear from you. What have you been struggling with in your mechanics, your pitching, baseball in general? But until then, thank you so much for watching. This has been Bryce on Balls. I've been Bryce, and until next time, have a good day.